Hey everybody, it's Christian from Human Risk with a story that I think is fascinating from a compliance perspective. It comes from the town of Penzance in Cornwall, which for viewers not familiar with the UK is the most southwesterly county in the country. That's where the owner of a tea room, think British version of Café, was found to have opened her business to eat in customers in direct contravention of the UK lockdown rules. Under those rules, cafes, pubs and restaurants are only allowed to open to take-out customers. I should incidentally add that the rules concerning barbers and hairdressers are even stricter, which is why my hair is significantly longer than you'll be used to seeing it. Anyway, back to the cafe owner. She was reported to the local newspaper, which went to investigate, and here's her explanation. Today was the first day we opened, and I assumed that we could sit people inside as long as they are 2 meters away from each other. Because we've got the upper floor, I thought it would be okay as long as there were no more than a couple. We have had a couple in to eat, obviously it was the older customers and only 2 people in at a time, and they were on their own upstairs, she said. Which I'm sure you'll agree is not a good explanation for why she broke the law. But if you've been living in the UK or watching events unfold here, you'll know exactly why she thought it was okay to open. She's completely confused. And understandably so, because over the weekend and this morning, some of the lockdown rules did change. Non-essential shops like clothing and bookstores are now able to open again, as are outdoor attractions like theme parks. And there were also some rather confusing rule changes that permit barbecues and certain types of family gathering using rules that involve the creation of family bubbles. From a government perspective, it's being presented as a simple set of rule changes to help stimulate the economy and make life a little easier. But from the perspective of the people who have to comply with the rules, it's not the simplest thing to get your head around, which is why I think this is a really powerful illustration of what compliance programs often get badly wrong. It doesn't matter how simple the government thinks the rules are. What matters is how the people who are required to obey the rules perceive them. Putting something in a rulebook doesn't automatically mean you'll get the outcomes you're looking for. You can argue that the cafe owner should know what rules apply to her business. After all, we wouldn't want her poisoning her customers. But equally, there's a responsibility on the part of the authority creating and implementing those rules to do so in a manner that minimises confusion. What we've got here is clearly someone who wasn't trying to break the law. In fact, she wanted to do the right thing, hence she'd attempted to comply with the rules as she thought they applied to her. Which is why I think this is such an interesting compliance case study. Just because people have breached a policy or a rule doesn't automatically mean they've done so deliberately. Sometimes they have, but very often non-compliance isn't a function of willful rule breaking. It might actually be a failure in communication or an illustration of a badly designed rule. We often rush to blame those who aren't compliant without thinking about why. To get people to do what you want requires understanding things from their perspective. If you want to manage human risk, then you need to understand human